Every revolution requires sacrifice. Sometimes it's our position. Sometimes it's our ideals. Sometimes it's our morality. And sometimes it's other people close to us, or total strangers. But the fight is going to take that much from us. We want to be sure that we win, even if we know that that day of victory may happen long after we're dead. It's Andor, Season 2, 3 BBY. Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to our continuing coverage of Andor Season 2, covering tonight episodes 4, 5, and 6. That's the Ghorman episode. I was going to say I had them all down, but they're all large titles. Have you been to Ghorman? I have friends everywhere, and evening celebration, evening party. I'm just going to screw that all up. Look, it's episodes 4, 5, and 6. And the guy here joining me to talk all about it, your friend and mine, it's Rob Stone from Smirking Gun Reviews.
What up, everybody?
Thought I had such complete notes here, and I'm like, no, it's on the other page. Anyway, so yes, of course, there will be spoilers going in ahead on this. And yeah, another stunning trio of adventures here. I do like these kind of 3 episodes blocks. I was really curious when it was first going to drop. Like, why aren't you taking like the 3 months that this would give you? Why are you squeezing it all in a month? And I think it's because these episodes really do work better together. They are telling a story within 1 year and then jumping year to year. So we're getting snapshots. And I think in order to tell the story completely and not constrain themselves to a particular pacing that makes a television episode work. We've talked about this a few times, how sometimes they just chop stuff up and it doesn't feel right. I think that they have managed to find a way to make each episode feel complete to itself, but really part of this 3 episode arc that they're dropping. So, yeah, really enjoying this. A little bit more of a slower burn, I thought, with this trio. But there's a lot they're building up to. So I think maybe having a little bit of the introspection, the minutia of what all this maneuverability is, was really the way to go. But Rob, what did you think about our 3 episode drop this week?
I really loved it. I think Wilmon wrote every episode of this arc.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I've talked about how he, was a big part of the House of Cards, him and David Fincher. So the political intrigue is there. And this is a real spy show now. Like,
oh, yeah.
This, for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans, take out all the, you know what I mean? Like, if you want another spy show, this is not like the fun of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. This is more like Bridge of Spies, like that kind of thing. Tinker Tailor Soldier spy stuff, where it's a lot of, it's not just the mission. It's not like, like a movie like Reservoir Dogs. It's just around the one big thing that happened. This is about how we get to that big thing that happens kind of at the end of every arc.
Right.
And all the conversations in this, the way that they showed how time has progressed and things like we're not completely understanding what's going on and where everybody's at until they start to reveal a bunch of things. And they did it so well that I'm not here for lightsabers and blasters. I'm here to watch how the rebellion got to Rogue One.
Yeah.
We're here to not just watch, Cassian. We're, because he's the, I'm not sitting here waiting for him to put his friend in the robot, that's going to be, oh, the one from Rogue One. I'm not here for Easter eggs. I'm here for the intrigue and what it looks like when a galaxy is in under fascist rule and how people fight back against it.
Yeah.
And I mean, because this show has, the writing is so good. I mean, they give a scene. This isn't a spoiler. I don't mean to jump ahead, but there's just a scene with the bellhop.
Oh yeah,
and it's just that's the only time you're probably going to see this guy. And he comes in and he just nails this story about being a person living here, experiencing this moment in time, to a very charismatic person who's looking for, inside juice. And his way of manipulating this guy into telling him that story, but it just, that person doesn't feel manipulated. The writing doesn't make, it's so good here that you have these little moments that are just really relatable, and it's all just so crafted so that when we do get to the action scene, all the characters start to see how things really are, because there's so much deception going on in this, from all the people. Not everybody that thinks they're working together is working together.
Yeah.
There are people that are being completely left out of things, and that's how it would be. And it's just great storytelling. It's great character work. It gives the characters things to struggle to and aim for, and just I keep watching this going, I can't believe this is just, this is Star Wars.
Yeah. But again, they're focusing on the real people. And that is something that when we watch, like, the movies or Ahsoka or the Obi-Wan series or any of these, these are the big, Jedi or, main character type of stuff that are doing mystical, magical, big, giant things. Whereas with Andor, we're talking about, we're telling the story of the people around the corner, the third wave behind that Jedi, and how they're the ones, the real foot soldiers that are making all of this stuff. And again, one of the themes that are constantly reinforced throughout this trio of episodes is that idea of sacrifice. Is the idea of that it's kind of seeing how everybody is getting to the point that Luthen was at the end of last season, when he has his big speech about what does he sacrifice? Everything. I know that I am never going to see this day of victory for which I dedicate my life in pursuit. Saw says the same thing to Wilmon down there. It's like, of course it's crazy. We're all going to be dead, but we are still here. And that because we are doing that, you can't be guaranteed, certainly not a hero's death. Grasso died pretty much off screen last. Brasso died off screen last. We just found his dead body. We didn't even see him get hit. It's that kind of thing. Even when Cinta's death happens, it's off screen. It's stupid and it's dumb. And in fact, that was one of the couple of scenes that actually kind of angered me, of like, oh, come on. That's so formulaic, because you saw that she was getting back together with the girl. And then, of course, she was going to die. But because of how everything else in the episode is crafted and how they pick that up afterwards, the stupidity of the death is the thing. She is this great warrior that did many things that people owe their lives to. And you did it because you wouldn't fucking listen. Because you're too green and you're too self-excited. And she takes the experience within her own belt to know, I'm not just going to kill you for it. I'm going to make you live. So you remember this. And it's a learning lesson, as painful and stuff and it is, but it's dumb. And even Bix is telling Andor with her whole bit. It's like, we have to dedicate ourselves in order to this end. And so ultimately all that you have are the moments. the moments between Cinta and her girl, the moments between Bix and Andor, even the moments between Syril and Dedra. We only have an hour. Those are the only things that you can really rely on because, like you said, everybody else is lying. And yeah, deception episode. Let's start with Syril. Syril as the undercover. not the choice that I was really expecting. But I think this has given him a confidence. Is it just me, or did he seem to be, I don't know, a little more adept at dealing with his mother on the phone, even though she's not backing off? And I think it's because he has a purpose now, and that seems to be what Syril really pursues, is being to have that purpose, and he is so dedicated. Uh, he is oddly kind of the perfect person to pull that off.
Yeah, I really like that they what they present to us right off is that, oh God, did he just backslide? You know what I mean? Like she's talking about how he blew it with this girl, and for all we know, like we're only given this information. For all we know, off screen, he did blow it. Maybe he was like, maybe he couldn't take that she stood up for him, and now he's right back in his old places. And instead, what is it? The show is smarter than that. The show is way smarter than that. It's like, yeah, we're hearing her return to her old way of behaving because that's what they want her to think.
Yes.
Everything is so well thought out in this part of the arc of like how they plotted together, how he's willing to do whatever for her, and it helps him get closer possibly to Andor and Rebellion, and he's game for all of it. He gets to leave, go off planets, get even further from his mother. And while it's difficult to be in this relationship, like making the relationship work, these are two people that have the same, or at least we thought, right? The same goals, except for Dedra, she's willing to, leave him out of things. But at the same time, I almost don't feel like it really phases him. It's just, it all works so well, and he's competent. And the only thing about Syril and the front, going to find the front, is it just, and I talked about this already to somebody, and I was just like, it was a little too on the nose with like the French resistance feel.
Oh, it is. Oh no, yeah, because they totally designed Ghorman as like a Northern Italian French thing, and the Ghorman front as effectively the French resistance.
Yeah,
that's why Ghorman is a French phonetic sounding language, and I guess they hired all French actors to play the Ghorman front rebels.
I mean, even Cyril's headgear. It was just too, I was like, oh, like, and then having, I have his name here because I didn't want to have the same thing happen where I couldn't remember the actor. Richard Sammel.
Yeah.
The same guy that we were talking about when we were talking about Nazi movies, the guy who took the bat to the head in Inglourious Bastards is the leader of the front. So we have German and French resistance in this. Like, it's just,
also for everyone, the Strain. He was the evil German guy in that. Because I was like, I see this vampire thing, but it's not Blade.
Yeah, he's got the evil German character down. Now he's playing a good, like not German. I thought that this show could get away from some of those tropes that Lucas started with mixing. I don't know. It was a bit too distracting for me for this part of the story. I was just like, meanwhile, in the French resistance, like it would be hilarious if it was like they just cut to and never explain why somewhere in 1940s France they're getting a transmission from somewhere a galaxy far a long time ago in a galaxy far away. They're like, what is happening somewhere in Ghorman? You know, like just make, you know, like
it's just going to be one guy in the plaza going "Viva la Resistance."
Yeah, but I know that like I get why it's there. It just feels it's weird. It's the only part of this that I was just like, this is just too weird. But it all works so. Otherwise, it works so well. I mean, I don't know how far into Syril's thing we're going to be talking. How far we want to talk about it, because I mean,
well, we
to
can
me,
just
the whole
let's just go
turn
through
off
Syril, and we'll try and stay character wise as we go through this, because I think
like
those
Dedra's commitment to what they've asked of her. He can't know everything. Her willingness to use him, and Syril sitting there waiting to see, you know, like, hey, I've done all the work. Why is like he has this like, I'm telling you what's happening, and they're just like, nope, don't go in yet. We're not doing anything yet. It's like they literally let everything play out. You know, I'm expecting like a big, oh no, it's going sideways story at the end. Like the rebellion gets caught up, because that's what, you know, like even Andor is saying is these people are going to do, you know, they're not ready for this.
Right.
But the Empire already knows. And so they have other goals here. They're still trying to find Luthen. They're like, and so poor Syril, I mean, I even say it, poor Syril, he's sitting there watching like, I've got it all here. And what happens is, even, you know, for the rebellion is they get their thing, or the Ghormans get their thing. They rob the transit. They have the proof that they were building an armory. But then, yeah, we lose Cinta conveniently by the same guy who was at the town hall making, you know, the hand just so happened.
Yeah,
that
I know. I'm like,
where
did he just show up with? So yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. There was a couple of those where I have to say that did, and one of
what you had said earlier.
I'll talk about when we get to the other one. But yeah, well, I mean, and that's nice how all of this really is, like you said, this is the espionage episode. This is everybody undercover. And these are plans within plans that you don't, because yeah, you have Dedra, who is like, we have to set up this false front. But you can't tell that story to Syril. One, because he'd probably fuck it up. But two, I think also Syril is one of those true believers, and I don't think that he would be in for the deception. So he's got a potential, I think, point of thing, because they're keeping this thing from him, realizing, oh, I am setting all of these people up so that we can kill them, so we can do our thing. He's committed to order, but I don't know if he's committed to that particular type of darkness. Whereas Dedra is locked into it. From Krennic's meeting last week, this is her plan. She's going to run it. But the chance that this goes bad in any fashion will all come down on her. So she's someone else who is about to be screwed over by the Imperials in that sense. So it's like there's so much of that deception happening. Meanwhile, we have Andor really stepping into his espionage life. He was the thief before, he was the soldier, and he could disappear and not be seen. And now he has to be seen as someone else. And he has to do the double speak and the talk and the throw out things and make it look like this. And also at the same time, be able to look at these amateurs that are in way over their head and go, this is going to be a disaster. It's bad enough to try and steal stuff. It's bad enough to try and hit, but then you want to tell everybody you did it? It is what a revolution needs. It is what a resistance needs. But against the Empire, I mean, that's just like, you know, going after a boot with a teeny tiny knife. The boot's just gonna crush you. So yeah.
Well, you know, and that's like, you know, what he says to him. I mean, is this what you're really setting up? Is to piss off the Empire and to show like other, you know, places that we can rise up. But how many places are we going to sacrifice along the way? They're
Right.
just, we're going to use them to get freedom to everyone. But they're not, again, they're not a part of it. They're out of the choice. We're manipulating the situation. We're exploiting the situation that we should just be helping, right? We should just be teaching these people how to be rebels and how to rebel. Instead, we're just sitting back and watching them do it and manipulating things so that it happens in the favor of what we want, not necessarily in what they want.
Right. And that's the base conflict that we have, I think, between Andor and Luthen within this. Is Andor is thinking as the soldier, as the person on the ground, the one that is sacrificed, that takes the heat, as Saw again said it is, or the cannon fodder. That's who Andor is associating with, where Luthen is like, dude, I don't need soldiers. I got soldiers all over the place. I need leaders. I need people that can step back and realize, like a game of chess, you have to sacrifice some pieces around. And I think he needs that help, because I think Luthen throughout this is starting to see this burgeoning rebellion get out of hand. It's getting too big. He can't control everything. He can't be on top of anything. There's too many things that go wrong. He needs to kind of, evolve his system, but he needs to find leaders. He needs to find people that can come up and make those big decisions and make the hard choices. So I think between Andor and Mon, that's really what he's been trying to push around, is like, look, you guys have the heart, and you need to have that to do it. You can't just be a psycho that's just there for the cause, because then you'll sacrifice everyone. You got to have the heart. You got to believe and feel for the people that are there. But you still have to be willing to sacrifice them if that's, what has to happen in order for a victory down the road. And so in this, Andor's like, these people are going to be crushed. Whereas Luthen has to see, like, look, they're making these choices. And if they are crushed, that might be the thing that shows the Empire, shows the rest of the galaxy what the Empire is. So in many ways, both the Empire and Luthen and the Rebellion are vying for the destruction of Ghorman, but hoping to get two different things out of it, which is really freaking dark.
Oh yeah, I mean, think about, like how relatable this actually really is too. I mean, how many, what's going to be the bad thing that tells all of us, how many people are going to suffer? How much worse will the suffering get? How much can we suffer? I was talking to my sister about this. Like, how many years before the American Revolution did, the people here suffer when they weren't killing the people who already lived here?
Right.
How many decades? I'm sorry, I still had to preface that. When they were suffering under British rule, how many decades did they suffer under British rule? How many people suffered and died before they stood up and fought back? Same thing with the Civil War. Same thing with basically everything that where things become an impasse. How many years before the suffering do people finally, what happens to finally break that? And Luthen's willing to roll the dice on this place to see something longer happen. Again, kind of the theme, a lot of the theme, like you keep saying, is we're not even going to be alive to see where this goes.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that theme. It really makes me think about like history and the history of like Star Wars. Like when you think about, because we just always jump from, now it's like the prequels to A New Hope, and we had Rogue One, but it was like it was like literally what happened right before Episode 4.
Right.
But like all these years, like 17 years between Luke and Leia's birth to her getting the plans on Yavin 4 from Yavin.
That was at 1 BBY. So yeah, that was basically 19 years, I think, between that.
And how many years before that did the rebellion start? You know, like realistically, how long did the galaxy suffer before, you know, major things started happening? And getting to see that play out in a realistic way is just fantastic. And I did want to bring up one other thing from Syril's thing.
Yeah.
Before we get too far away, is his commitment to, like, when they come in, the ISB comes into his offices for the bugging, and how well he did that. Just completely. And what you're saying about, like, how he might not be in it for the same kind of thing, it does make you wonder, will Syril's end be a redemptive end, seeing that he can't go along with all of this? Maybe witnessing what he's witnessing is actually helping, you know, is actually going to hurt, you know, his imperial way of thinking. I mean, when he's talking to his mother, right? And she's going on about the Ghormans and how they're all better than us, and he's sitting there going, "Mom,
you're listening to too much Imperial TV."
Yeah. They're not being, let's just also say this, they're not being subtle in this. As the show goes on, they are stopped being subtle. They can put on all the, like, weird looking Hunger Games outfits that they want in their TV shows, because they all look like they're on the Hunger Games. Like the big old poofy wigs and everything. But, like, they are not mincing words about things, and I'm here for that. But, like, look, her being like that, and him going, you know, that's not really. But I'm here. He's seeing people. He's calling them decent people. You know what I'm saying? And he means that. He does mean that. He wants to help Dedra. He wants to find, and he still believes in this right now. But when we get our next jump, what is Syril's gonna, you know, where is Syril gonna be? I really don't know.
Well, I mean, and I think that's one of the great things about this, is because we get to see the humanity in conflicts with everyone, where you start to see this is where this could go this way or that way. You know, as a true believer, does he believe in the order and righteousness? That makes sense for someone like Syril, especially somebody who was raised by such a crazed mom like that. You know, order might be the only way that he can kind of get any kind of control. I mean, he's an impeccable dresser. He looks great. You know, he fits right in with Ghorman in so many ways.
The design of that city, by the way.
Yeah, and yeah, we will definitely go in with that. But damn, that made me lose my train of thought.
I'm so sorry.
No, because the city is gorgeous, and I do want to go into the production and stuff like that. But really, just that fastidiousness of Syril, it makes sense why he would be excited to use that to undercover some evil rebels that are trying to take down the the Imperial way, that's just looking for peace. You know, you could see where he would sell into that. But if he realized, like, oh no, you're the deceiver that found a bunch of innocent people and setting them up to die so the Imperial can destroy their planet. Yeah, where does his value lie, and how is that going to sit with Dedra at that point, who's, of course, he's totally enamored with. But yeah, let's get to Ghorman for a little bit, because yeah, the production value they spent, I don't care what the budget was, every dollar you see on the screen, and the fact that they could build this giant plaza and do almost all of your shots in and around this plaza, outside of like some of the alleyways and stuff and side streets that they use for the hijacking, is just brilliant. It's beautiful, it's airy, it has a whole different feel, and yet, like everything else they've done in this, it feels grounded and real and not artificial in any way. And look, and I gotta ask, even aside from that, do the aliens look better in this show than they have in the other Star Wars shows? Because I swear to God, they look better and not like people with masks on.
Yeah, I think you're right. There might be a little bit of CGI maybe put on the faces a little bit, so that it's like looks a little like in the mouth area, maybe more expressive and not so puppety.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I mean, I still think there's too many humans, but
sure.
But
budget's our budget,
again,
you know.
I know, but the ones that are here are really cool because I wasn't that. Am I mistaken? But is one of Saw's guys a Wampa with like
yes.
some sort of thing in his back, like Rocket Raccoon? Like somehow maybe it's given this thing intelligence.
Big furry beast, yeah. Maybe he's an extra furry Wookiee, but yeah, he does look like the hair does hang a little bit more like a Wampa.
Yeah. Bill says maybe because there's fewer of them, they can focus on quality. Yeah, that's probably true. Yeah, I mean, this the rebellion has always been mostly a human versus human thing. You know, on shows like Clone Wars, they go to other planets that have alien races that that don't look like us, that they have to convince to be on our side.
It's like that's the one thing they share with Star Trek. We got to go and tell you the way that things got to be, which you don't understand because you're aliens. But yeah, the production on this is amazing. From the little cafes and the little frickin' desserts and drinks that are all different, both here and even at the party that we see later on with Mon and her group. They really focus on getting the small things right and giving them an individual feel. And I think, again, that it keeps it grounded. It keeps it real. It's not like everybody just uses space sporks. You know, there seems to be really different utilities and different things for something that's kind of unique with every place. And I think that they use that again to great effect here.
Oh yeah, and for all we know, they might have just torn down the place that they used in season 1 and rebuilt on top of it, and used just changed it up, but you wouldn't know it. And one thing helps is that they're out in it. We're not in like these blank corridors, these blank nondescript hallways. Like they're just changing like an angle, and you can make just from an angle you can change the way everything looks. So when we complained about it, and for some reason the first thing that popped in my head was Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 5, where you could just see the production quality drop when it used to be outside stuff. And I know that it's because they're in space, but it's like everything just looked like blank corridors, blank hallways that they could just run around in and pretend, we're in a totally different hallway than this one. No, they're spending the money to make everything look as authentic and still probably come within the budget. This show is a roadmap to how to make Star Wars work with the money that you get, how to make the aliens everything we're talking about, writing, acting, all of it, set design, costume design.
No, they're hyper efficient. I mean, the fact that the hotel, the dress shop, the cafe, and Syril's work are basically all in the same plaza. So you can use all those areas, and I love that I was really curious how they're going to pull this off. The fact that they got Andor and Syril in the same place, but just at different times, was kind of a great way. Both of them are playing someone else effectively, even though Syril's more of a version of himself while Andor is playing somebody else. Both are undercover on Ghorman, both at the exact same place, but they don't have a chance to run into each other because they're gone when the other one arrives.
Yeah, thank God they didn't throw something like that in there where all of a sudden Andor and Syril see each other from across the room, and then Syril can't do anything about it because like a crowd comes or something and pushes him. Oh, he was right there.
Yeah.
That's what a lesser show would have done.
Well, and it also would have been, you know, because we have the whole thing where Daedra is trying to get back onto the pursuit of Luthen. And that one scene where she's kind of like pushing and asking about like, hey, did you have access? Why haven't you asked me what's going on? And, you know, the other guy's like, hey, you're out of it. You're whatever. This is keeping them apart. If Andor shows up, it's going to force that kind of pull together. And this is, again, this is the way that you want to tell them how everybody can move within their own little bits and also not like, oh my God, an entire galaxy. And we just happened to, Paul, what's up, Paul? You know,
have you met whatever his name was, Valyrian Sky or whatever? Yeah. Like all of a sudden he turns around and Syril and him, oh, and then they both are undercover, so they can't reveal each other. And then they get that moment of like, I was just there. He was just there. Cassian's here.
Yeah. No, it would have spiraled it out. You wouldn't be able to tell the story that they are telling here if they did that. So no. I appreciated that.
I appreciate that they've gotten better at storytelling, at least on this show. Like, because that's what another version of this show would have
done. But by building those sets of that area, again, you can use that giant location for almost all of Ghorman that you need to do outside of another exterior and a couple of interior shots, and that's it. And all you have to do, like you said, shift the angle. We have the whole cafe, and then we show the window into the cafe. The beautiful thing I ended up using for my thumbnail here, which is that great almost yin-yang between Val and Cinto right there, where it's like, yeah, you have the dark and the light and the two forces that are coming together, but also, you know, this is your foreshadowing of the life and the death, you know, all of those kind of opposites that we have. So again, it's like simple stuff, but it it's they spent time, like you said, they spent money and time in the right places in order to give this that strong human feel. And by human, I mean us, not just human versus alien feel for the show. And I think that's what carries it forward, since we aren't having blasters and lightsabers and force wielding, you know, Sith running through the scenes. Saw Gerrera is somebody that we've only seen little bits of, a little bit more in the Clone Wars. I think he was introduced in Rogue One. Maybe it was Clone Wars, and this was just the first time that we saw it. That's the first time I remember seeing the character. And I think that he has been great representative of kind of like that crazy edge of the rebellion. And we learned so much about Saw in this episode, very much of probably why he's as crazy as he is. In a section that I was like, why do we have this? What is important to us? And was just so compelling. We get to see Wilmon now also working for Luthen, but now separated from Bix and Andor. Now using the engineering skills he learned from his dad back on Ferrix to tap into rhodinium fuel lines. Highly dangerous fuel. And I guess very, very much a chance of a mistake in trying to siphon some off usually results in the big boom boom, which you don't want. But yeah, this is just one of those where it was like, it was creepy, and it was like, oh, we're seeing the dark, crazy side of this part of the rebellion. But yeah, but then that whole bit where he is where Saw is talking about, you know, growing up, and that's kind of what made him. He was this prisoner on a planet that had to mine or process rhodinium. They couldn't even wear clothes because of the way that the fumes would interact. And he's kind of a gas huffer at this point. I mean, what it's made like some sort of psychotic addiction, which I can imagine, like huffing anything usually kind of degrades one's brain matter a little bit. So all of that chaos, all of that paranoia, all of that things that make up the nuts that is Saw Gerrera kind of makes a lot of sense now. As well as his commitment to getting to the end, or to winning, even if he doesn't get to the end.
Which we know he doesn't.
Right.
And up to the very end, right? It's for the Republic. It's like the last thing he says, right? Is like pretty much. He did show up, first appearance, season 5 of the Clone Wars.
Okay.
Which makes me respect the Clone Wars even more as it went on. Is introducing characters that are this complex, that are this like dark, that is and a rebel. He wasn't originally voiced by Forrest Whitaker. I do think that they changed the actor to Forrest Whitaker after Rogue One. I think whenever you see him now, it's Forrest Whitaker. But just, yeah, seeing that guy and his evolution on the Clone Wars, where he was just this kind of, he was a little wild, but like you see him being, he's very Darth Vader-ish, or he's very Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He starts to become less of a person. The damage he's taken to the things that they use to keep him alive is very Vader-ish to me. And he just keeps getting more nutty. He is losing more and more of his marbles and willing to do more and more things to win. And I love that this is, even if this is, you know, you could say, well, it makes the character of Wilmon, you know, gives him something to do. I'm just glad that they gave him something to do so that we get more Forrest Whitaker as Saw Gerrera. Same as like any excuse they can get to bring Ben Mendelsohn into any scene, right? Is we get these like great actors who, like, think about, okay, we'll get to that, but like him just chewing the scenery, but like, and getting to have this guy more fleshed out and seeing again what that side of the rebellion is like. Like these guys are more like pirates and raiders.
Oh yeah.
Like than they are regular. I mean, they're for the Republic, but I mean, the one guy, right? He introduced, what's his name? Pluit?
Yeah.
Or whatever, that's supposed to be his like learning, and then
soon to be ex-Pluit. Yeah.
Yeah. So then once he, you know, knows what to do, they can get rid of Wilmon. Right. It's and Wilmon, I think, you know, knows that this information, not just about what he knows, but like they want to know who trained me, so that they want to go to that guy, maybe, you know. And Wilmon, knowing the only thing that he has going for him is to not tell them that, and that Saw wants this guy to know everything, like a lunatic. He really should only know the one thing, but he's like, no, teach him all of it. So by making the job more difficult for Pluit, and Pluit basically talking his way into his own death.
Yes.
Making himself obsolete in front of Gerrera, so that, you know, we're supposed to think he's going to kill Wilmon, when really he's just the only guy that knows is this guy, and that's I only need one. And he doesn't have to say that, but we see it after the fact. If you watch it, or you watch it again, or you realize after the fact that this whole thing was just, he just wants the best guy, and that's it. And that kind of person. And then his weird, the weird thing with the rock and everything, and how this like bonds him in some fashion to Wilmon, but at the same time, Wilmon is still cannon fodder. But
sure.
now he kind of knows it. But like, there's this like greater appreciation for what we do and why we do it. Like he's very, for as nutty as he can sound, Gerrera can be convincingly, you know, like for the right kind of mind.
He is committed to the cause. He is committed to the overthrow of the Empire, and he will do whatever it takes in order to do that. And he's just crazy enough to be suspicious of everybody because he knows what the Empire is capable of. And I think in that sense, Wilmon is like a young Saw. He's smart, he's capable, but he's lost a lot. He lost his father, then he lost his planet, then he's lost the remaining adopted family. Now he is basically on his own. All that he has is the death of the Empire. And now you have crazy Saw Gerrera sucking on the fumes, going, of course we're mad. We'll never see the end, but we're here now. And that's what's important, you know. And he's just like, yeah, man, tell it to me. You know, it's almost like a cult convert in that sense. So when he rips off that mask and breathes in the rhodium gas, you know, they did that great shot where he's just like, because it's not good for you, man. That thing will set your lungs on fire.
But when, you know, it's like basically like, you know, we could die in a second, so fuck it.
Yeah.
Like, it's just wild. And also, like, Wilmon was working with Luthen. You know, he's supposed to get back, and he's like, I'm just going to tell him it's fine. So, like, was he actually supposed to be, you know, more closer to Bix and Andor? And is what's going on with Bix and Andor and their whole thing so, you know, like, that they don't even have time to think about what's happening with Wilmon, you know?
No, I think after the events of last, and they had to return the tie, and they couldn't hide out anymore. They became Luthen, and Luthen gathers people. What are your skills? What are your uses? And I think at that point, you know, and here when we pick up, we've seen that Bix and Andor have done a couple of missions together. They're in the safe house on Coruscant, hiding out in between things. With Wilmon gone, you know, you could just see they have just been used doing things all over the place, you know. Wilmon's just a utilitarian, but for Luthen, okay, well, if Saw isn't going to kill him and he needs him, at least we know where he is. He's doing work over there and he's helping the cause. I think that's as far as what Luthen is basically at this stage looking at everyone's utilitarian. And unfortunately, Bix is kind of cascading out of it. While Andor is picking up the skills and stepping into the roles and taking on to the things, Bix is spiraling out because of the damage and things that had. And, you know, I think they had an actual great moment between Luthen and Bix there, where it's like Luthen is, you can see that he's checking up on her. How are you? Where are your usefulness? And then kind of taken back with just how vulnerable she is at that point. It's like, okay, well, I got to reapproach this thing. And I saw a meme, I think there was a great comparison of kind of like the two things we were just talking about is you have Luthen here looking at Bix's little drugs she's taken saying, hey, be careful on that, man. It works for a moment, but it's really hard when it comes back, you know, be measured. Then you've got Saw Gerrera over there with Wilmon going, suck in the gas, boy. But again, for Saw, everyone's disposable. For Luthen, at point, everybody still has a use. And I think he sees the utilitarianness of Bix and Andor together and that they feed each other. And Andor is certainly not willing to toss Bix aside now, which, you know, loneliness does become the end fate of most of these warriors.
Yeah. We're probably waiting till the end to talk about like how things get resolved here, but I'll say this, I did not expect the Bix story to go the way it did after the last arc, because we talked about, I said, like, he's not good for her. Even Andor says it in this arc. He's like, I should probably just be alone.
Yeah.
You know, which is true. But then they go a whole different way, and we'll get to that, I guess.
Yeah, well, let's just get to it now, because we have this, and then we'll talk all the three end pieces, really.
Well, that is like one of the end pieces. So it's like, I love how this episode. Well, okay, in the very first episode of this arc, episode 4, we see the board that she was tortured with in her as she's dreaming. She's dreaming of that board and like somebody flipping a knob, and she wakes up. And then when she gets her revenge, and the guy that I kept saying was Wernstrom.
Yeah, Gorst. Yeah.
Putting him in the chair and giving her like, I mean, that's a very Last of Us 2 shit happening right here. Okay, this is, you did me dirty. I tracked you down. This is what it's going to take to heal me, even though honestly, it shouldn't solve any problem, but it's what she needs in this story to move on, even though I do think it would cause her more damage in the end, because she's a good person and she's doing, she's just doing that thing that we've talked about on other things.
Right.
But it was great. I mean, again, it's that visceral thing that we have of like, yeah, get that guy that, and he's a space Nazi. So put him in the chair. But
I
then
also,
when I thought she was by herself. I thought she had gone off the reservation and she's just like, I know what I need to do. And I love, though, the reveal of that. Luthen probably found out where he was, gave them the information to deal with it. Because he told him, right, we need to help me work this. Because going to his, store is a big problem. Anybody watching, anybody that has footage of his store that's watching him is going to see Cassie and Andor at some point on that camera.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we still will. I don't know. I hope not, but that would be an easy story thing. But seeing him with her at the end, after she blasts the one guy, and then there's Andor, and he pulls out the thing, and kaboom! Like, they're in it together. It means they're moving forward. She and him are together. Whether or not that's a good thing, and I have a feeling it's not going to be good for Bix in the long run.
Well, I don't think she makes it, because Andor seemed pretty alone by the time we get to Rogue One.
Yeah, well, and we know what happens to him, so
yeah. Well, yeah, but it's one of those where yes, but because of the writing and the way that they're able to construct it, they lay the groundwork constantly without that. The initial discussion at the ISB, we are overloaded. We can't process all of the people that we are dealing with. So that gets the ISB to look into larger things. That finds Gore stuff that works so well in FedEx. So they go, great, now we're going to expand that type of torture, which, of course, Luthen's guy then informs him on. We don't see that scene, but we know that it happens. And yeah, now it serves the rebellion for Bix to get her revenge. Because all Luthen has to bring out is like, hey, you know that guy Gorst? Of course you do. You hate him and you have nightmares constantly. They want to expand his project. Do you want to take care of that? Done. It's an easy peasy work for Luthen. It's almost a gift that's dropped into him and solves a massive problem at the same time.
Yep. But it's just a little piece of writing that all of a sudden, you could write off.
Yeah.
Not even remember. And then boom, how it pays off. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, it was a brilliant bit. And yes, it's totally viscerally satisfying. And she's like got her coat on and she's moving and Andor's with it. They look like, cool cats don't look back at explosions at that moment, So yeah, I loved how they had set all of that up for that payoff. We'll end on Ghorman and that whole kind of lust there. Let's drift to Mon's bit, because Mon and Luthen, I think, have kind of a very straightforward bit of story. All that we're seeing with Mon, for the most part, is the fact that everything is getting away from her. Support is falling apart. The Empire is becoming more dangerous. Now, people won't even stand up to to the Emperor when he's trying to pass something in the Senate. Oh no, the risk is too much. I don't want to upset him. Even the people that are suffering because of the bills can't stand up against him. And then she gets that great scene, which I know when we get to our next arc is going to come back in a very cool way. with that crazy alien that's talking one planet in the system and one ideals in one empire. And she's just like crunching this. You can see she's like, it's all falling apart. You're all giving up. It's all going to crush you, and none of you see it. I think frustration would probably be Mon's main arc within this little bit of episode, is just that she is sacrificed, and now it all seems to be for nothing. And what is she going to do about it? Again, I don't think there's a whole lot else with Mon in this whole bit. Luthen has a little bit thing, but yeah, am I missing anything with Mon?
I mean, she just had to, the thing that they were setting up is this thing with Skulland, that something was said to be a forgery or claimed to be a forgery by someone. Like,
right.
Okay.
With Luthen,
there's parts of this that, if you really look at it, are just kind of like, what? Somebody claims, some lady we don't know. It's like, well, this is a fake. We don't even know if she's telling the truth. We don't know if she knows what she's talking about. I think that's kind of brilliant a little bit, but then he's just like, well, I just don't trust any of this now. So we're going to have it all reappraised. And that leads them to have to go to this thing to get the listening device out that they've had there that's been useful. They've gotten all kinds of things from it. So it's already a highly tense scene, and she's there. And for some reason, is it weird to me that they've always used Jimmy Smits as Bail Organa, and then suddenly they switched to Benjamin Bratt?
He wasn't available. I think I looked that up afterwards because I was in the exact same mindset. And apparently they wanted to get Jimmy Smits, but he wasn't available. There was a conflict. And now I have to assume that we are going to see more of him, because if this is the only Bail Organa scene, it's completely pointless. There was no need to have Bail Organa in this at all.
At all.
So I have to assume that we will see Benjamin Bratt again as Bail Organa in this series. And yeah, apparently they just couldn't get Jimmy Smits. And
it's like, we can't get Jimmy. Look, Benjamin, we did you dirty on Doctor Strange. I know you were probably hoping to be in the sequel to that. So how about we have you come back as not Jimmy Smits?
Yes. I mean, I like Benjamin Bratt enough. I was pleased to see him, but yeah, that was my only thought is, what?
So I had to rewind it to make sure that they called him who they called him. Like, I had the subtitles on and everything. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, I gotta say the let's get the bug out of the piece of art sequence was probably my least favorite, because I felt it was a lot of manufactured tension, especially with the like, it's stuck, it's not going to go. I'm like, oh, come on.
Okay. I don't know if you're still in the chat, Bill, but what did I just say? What did I say? I was like, do we really need more tension? I was like, yeah. I love that Ben Mendelsohn's back, but shouldn't his presence alone be enough tension?
Well, see, and that was the thing that, to me, that kind of saved this whole bit, was Ben Mendelsohn showing up as Krennic, because it does give a great back and forth between him and Mon on philosophy, approach, government, the little things of how to deal with stuff. I think it was great. I think that was a great bit for Mon to start pushing her to where she is going to have to be in our next arc. So that, to me, that was great. But the whole, it's stuck and are we going to get caught, whatever. I mean, I like the payoff where the guy was like, well, it's a book because you do. And she was like, pay attention there. We might be tested on this later. And he is able to go in and does the great cover up and whatever.
It's just that guy, his part, Lonnie's part was stupid.
Yeah.
He's there. I'm just going to leave. All of it's, you're in for a penny, in for a pound. We have to sit here going and convince a guy to move to the left. move to the right. We have to pull this guy's teeth out to just take one step to the left or
He's
right.
already undercover. He should just like shift normally and just be like, we need to, you know, his tension could be there, but not a complaint to move left or right. Yeah.
It's and just the way it was edited and the blood coming in and just, come on, man. Come on.
Yeah. That was yeah, so that was one of those where I was like,
stacking things on top of a situation does not all like it's like anything else, a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. It starts to get less and less believable and effective. And you need to keep your scenes of tension a little simpler.
Yeah.
If you can't write it in a way that makes sense, just leave it out.
And you did get to have the nice quip afterwards of, well, we should have just killed Krennic right there.
That should have been what they like did, like one of those freeze frames.
Dun, 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 dun. Yeah.
You know, like executive producer Aaron Spelling.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's when the Three's Company's credits start to go up. So yeah. So that was the one thing that kind of annoyed me. And as I had admitted before, the other thing that kind of annoyed me was Cinta's death, because it was so pointless and useless and dumb. And of course, the kid that was told not to bring a weapon brings a weapon. And of course, some random fucking guy who I don't know why he was even there or causing issues, because then he's like helping out after she's dead. Why that conflict happened. It annoyed me because it felt manufactured, like, oh, we have to have this loss because these two people are coming together and we have to show the sacrifice. What saved for me and made it work is Val's speech afterwards.
Yeah.
To the guy and why it's there. And again, because we've had these already bits from Bix, from Saw last season, from Luthen of sacrifice and loss and the stupid stuff and all of these things, it works. And how she's just like, do not look at me, do not cry. This was a badass woman that you could never measure up to, and now you're going to carry with her for the rest of your life, and you will never forget this moment. You're going to fucking do what you're told, and you're not going to fuck up anymore, because this is what happens when stupid people do stupid stuff. I mean, okay, she said it better than that.
Yeah, that's about the gist that's what I was hearing. You know, so.
But to give us that underlay of loss and sacrifice, and ultimately that you may live a hero's life, but that does not guarantee you a hero's death. And in fact, most likely you're going to die in a dumb way, because that's generally what happens with most people, how they die. You know, you're not going to be sitting there, I'm going to pilot the ship into the last thing and never forget that I was always there with you. No, you're hit by a car crossing the street on your way, you know, after that you've done the big victory and shit. You know, that's how you're going to die in this world. Damn it. Don't aim for anything. It all sucks.
Yeah.
Turning into Harrison Ford.
Again, like, it's all really good, but then it's just kind of, there's a couple of mistakes in writing near the end. Just, I don't know. Maybe he wrote himself into a corner. Maybe they felt like we have to have it be that guy that we saw before. Like, there can't be, like, why wouldn't it just be, like, wouldn't it have been better to be like a regular cop? Just some Ghorman police officer or whatever. I don't know, like anything, anybody, but whatever.
Yeah. No.
They still got their guns. They still drove away thinking that they've completely gotten away with it, even though. It was an important moment for her character. And I mean, as soon as that gun blaster was fired, I knew who had gotten hit as soon as it fired. I didn't have to wonder.
Yeah.
I knew that it was going to shoot the one person that was actually capable there, because that's just narratively, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that in a bad way. It was a smart play, even if it is like you said, heroes die. You know, that's what heroes do. People keep making it sound like a hero is a guy who just keeps on saving people every day. No, that's fictional.
Right.
That's fictional. Those are the things that we aspire to, that we want to be that brave and that, you know, whatever. Certain kinds of parts of those people, you know, inspire us. But in reality, heroes just, it's over, and hopefully you did something that mattered, you know, and that will help somebody else, or you in service of helping someone else, because that's what really the cowards live, heroes die.
Well, and it continues to underline again that point that Luthen says, what do you sacrifice? Everything. Relationships, love, hope, a future. You sacrifice it all because that's what it's going to take to beat the Empire. And I think all of this just continually underlines that over and over again, from point to point to point. And yeah, maybe they could have done the same message if it was the blonde girl that wandered off with the older lady that was the guy's friend that he ends up shooting, and it wasn't Cinta. But that doesn't underline for Val the fact that she still has to sacrifice everything. That love isn't going to be there because this fight demands it all.
Yeah,
we'll take it all from you.
And it's, yeah, I mean, look at Rogue One, and everybody dies in that. You know, it's showing like this is what it takes. This is what it took.
Yeah,
and you know,
we're all gonna die.
That makes me, as I'm saying it, and then I think about the future of Star Wars. I meant
yes.
Of how, like, oh well, you know, we did all this and we beat the Empire, and maybe another lesson is that there's always another Empire. But did Star Wars really have to have another Empire right after like all that sacrifice?
They didn't want to lean into the Yuji and Vong yet. That's because that's a lot of makeup
dealt
right
with
there.
Some weird shit happening across the galaxy, you know, like after the Empire. There's always going to be back. Anyway, different topic. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, but that I think that does pretty much anything else that I am missing or that you wanted to touch on.
Just about heroism.
Yeah,
is just that, you know, in our own world, you know, we need heroes, and unfortunately just everybody's too afraid to be a hero right now. We got a few people out there that I'm afraid are going to become heroes, you know, as dark as that sounds, and it's just a matter of time before we're going to need a lot more of them. And it's like, the lesson that I took from this is like, we have to fight even if we don't live to see the end result.
Right.
And that's what we have to do now. That's what they did in other time periods. All those people that sacrifice, that fill up all those damn cemeteries, you know, either here or overseas. Those people, they weren't all the greatest people in the world, but they did things that, you know, that helped at the time, you know, keep fascism at bay. They made the sacrifices, and what are we willing to sacrifice now? You know, so we're going to start needing real heroes, unfortunately.
And realizing that the fight is bigger than any one of us.
Yep. And that the important thing is future generations of people not living under that yoke.
Yes.
Not having to spend millions of years trying to fix what, you know, can be done there's a lot of damage being done in a short amount of time. And unfortunately, to fix that damage is going to take even more time already.
Yeah.
So getting back on track is already, you know, it's going to be a fight for to me, for the foreseeable past my life, you know.
And so in that fight, it is important to also focus on, and I think that is something that we will be finding as we go into our next section, probably next week. What do you do after the fight? What are you fighting for? We know who you're fighting against, but what are you fighting for? What is the world that you want to live in? What does that look like? And what is it worth for you to reach? So next week, we have our next trio happening 2 years before the Battle of Yavin, when everything changes. If this was a slow burn, next week, I predict, is going to be a series of explosions. And I don't want to drop out any other hits for anybody that isn't familiar with the history of the Star Wars universe. But 2 BBY is a very big one. And we'll get to cover that next week. Same Andor time, same Andor station. And of course, I'll be doing it with my main man, Rob, here. Rob, you've been playing Control. You've been playing the Mighty Nine campaign in Baldur's Gate. What else been going on your channel?
Well, I mean, you pretty much nailed it. I mean, we're playing a lot of games. We are doing the Baldur's Gate 3 Mighty Nine campaign, which is a lot of fun. It's, you know, I can't stop playing that game. It is probably my favorite game of all time now. It is the biggest toy box I've ever experienced, and I just can't seem to stop. And Bill has helped me, has been a big, you know, he's the one who comes, you know, has the time to put all this together, and I just get to jump in and we play, and we try to play as close as we can to what the characters would do. We try to have the same spells, you know. There's some leeway here and there just for enjoyment levels, you know. But we're also playing till level 20, so we get to see all the characters come out. And then, yeah, we're playing Control. We're still trying to beat Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I got to get back to Metaphor Refant. I've got a million games, so games will always be happening on the channel. We still got The Last of Us Season 2, Part 2 going on Sunday or Monday nights or whenever we can get it done. Talking about that. Happy, like just nothing but pure joy.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out of my pores when we talk about that. And yeah, that's about it, other than, you know, any kind of randomness that comes out. Yeah. And I'm wearing my Saga number 72 comic book cover t-shirt. For people that are Saga fans, Saga is basically Star Wars, like I don't know. To me, it's one of the greatest space stories and human stories, or, you know, like, just, I don't know. It's a great cover. If you read this book, you know what I'm talking about. I wish I was covering it on my channel. I don't know why I'm talking about it here. I'm rambling.
That's okay.
So that's what's going on.
Excellent. And yeah, of course, we got Andor going here. I'm over on Mondays over on Smirking Gun talking about Last of Us Part 2. I'm just going to call it that because that's basically what it is. I want to give a big thanks to Bill and Rena joining us live in the chat. Thanks everybody who joined us in the archives. And we will see you all next week. So as always, so long, take care, and watch out for those Nazis.